Hello everyone, I'm Cedric Gedinali, and for today, me and my group will be talking about the issues related to the role of motivation in self-regulated learning. For this video, there are three parts that will be talked about for this topic, which are the introduction to the issue, psychological analysis, and practical recommendations. Without further ado, let's directly start with the first part.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nura Shabalkis binti Sulaiman. My number matrix is 241031504. I will be talking about the relationship between motivation and self-regulated learning and why this connection is important for students. Okay, first let's look at what self-regulated learning or SRL actually means. Self-regulated learning is the ability of students to take charge of their own learning. This includes planning what they want to achieve, choosing the right strategy, monitoring the process, and finally evaluating how well they did. In other words, it is about being an active, independent learner rather than relying completely on teacher. Next, let's talk about motivation. Motivation is the internal force that drives a student to learn, participate, and put effort into their studies. It is what makes students start a task, stay focused while doing it, and continue even when they face difficulty. Motivation can come from different sources. For example, intrinsic motivation comes from inside the student, such as enjoying the subject, wanting to improve, or feeling curious. Meanwhile, extrinsic motivations come from outside rewards like getting good grades, receiving praise, or avoiding punishment. Motivation does not only influence how much effort a student puts in, but also the quality of their efforts. A motivated student is more willing to explore new strategies, ask questions, and keep going when they do not understand something or first. Without motivation, even intelligent or capable students may struggle to perform well because they lack the drive to participate actively. Understanding the importance of motivation in learning is essential because motivation is the foundation of effective, self-regulated learning in today's learning environment where students often learn independently, whether in online class, project work, or self-paced learning. Motivation plays a key role in with their behavior. Motivated students are more likely to take responsibility for the learning. They set goals, plan how to achieve them, track the process, and adjust when things don't go as planned. They also tend to develop stronger problem-solving skills and higher resilience, meaning they don't give up easily when faced with challenge. On the other hand, students with low motivation may avoid tasks, procrastinate, or rely too heavily on teacher. This makes it harder for them to develop independence and confidence. That is why teachers and schools try to create learning environment that encourage students to stay motivated because motivation leads to better engagement, deeper understanding, and long-term academic success. Overall, motivation is not just an extra factor, it is a core element that determines how effectively a student can regulate and manage their own learning. Thank you.
Now that we're done with the introduction to the issue, let us continue with the second part of this topic, the psychological analysis. From a psychological standpoint, motivation influences three main aspects of self-regulated learning: goal orientation theory, self-efficacy, and emotional regulation.
Hello, my name is Rizani, so I'm going to explain for this slide. For this part of psychological analysis, we will look at goal orientation theory. This theory explains how students' motivation influenced by the type of goals they focus while learning. There are two types of goals: mastery goals and performance goals. First, mastery goals are when students aim to learn, understand, and improve their skill. When a student has mastery goals, they are more focused on personal growth rather than comparing themselves with others. They see challenges as opportunities to learn, and they are not afraid of making mistakes because mistakes help them improve. This type of goal usually leads to deeper understanding and long-term learning. Next, we have performance goals. These goals happen when students are more focused on their grades, result, or competing with other students. They want to look competent in front of others, and their motivation often depends on external rewards, like prizes or high marks. While performance goals can push students to work hard, they may also create pressure, fear of failure, and stress. Overall, goal orientation theory helps teachers understand why students behave differently in the classroom. By encouraging mastery goals, teachers can help students develop stronger intrinsic motivation and a healthier attitude towards learning.
I will now continue with the second analysis. So based on Canadian-American psychologist Albert Bandura's social efficacy theory, students' belief in their own ability enhances motivation and persistence. When students feel confident they can succeed, they engage more deeply in planning, monitoring, and evaluating their progress. Lastly, for the third analysis, emotional regulation, students who are motivated can manage frustration or anxiety better, allowing them to stay focused even when tasks are difficult. This emotional control supports memory retention and cognitive engagement. In essence, motivation acts as both a fuel and a guide for self-regulated learning. It energizes effort and directs it toward meaningful academic goals. Now let us move on to the final part of this topic: practical recommendations. To enhance motivation and self-regulated learning, educators can apply these following strategies.
Now, I will continue with one of our practical recommendations, which is encouraging autonomy in the classroom. Autonomy simply means giving students a sense of ownership over their learning. When students feel that they have control over their choices, their motivation increases naturally because they feel responsible for the outcome. One of the most effective ways to do this is by offering students choices in assignments and learning paths. For example, instead of giving only one fixed type of assignment, we can provide a few options, such as a written reflection, a short video, a poster, or even a small project. Students can choose the format that best matches their strengths and interests. This approach is powerful because it helps students feel respected as individuals. It also reduces anxiety, increases engagement, and allows them to take initiative. When students choose how they want to learn, they are more invested in the process and more persistent when challenges arise. Overall, encouraging autonomy creates a supportive learning environment where students feel confident, motivated, and empowered to take charge of their education.
Hello, my name is Krisneri Dylan Ambor, and my matrix number is MS241031483. And now I'll be talking about my part in our group presentation about self-regulated learning in sections Practical Recommendation 1, 2, and 3. The second strategy that we would recommend to educators is setting clear and achievable goals to students. This can be achieved by breaking up tasks into smaller milestones. What this does is that it helps students see academic goals as less daunting and far more achievable and easier for them to complete, thus improving their motivation to learn. The third strategy that we would recommend educators is by promoting a growth mindset in their students. What this growth mindset refers to is a mind that understands and is focused on learning through practice, repetition, and improvement. Well, how this helps students is that those who possess a growth mindset are far more open to learning new things and are far less likely to lose motivation in their studies.
Next, I will explain the last two practical recommendations that can help improve students' motivation and learning. The fourth recommendation is to provide constructive feedback. Constructive feedback means giving comments that help students understand their progress and what they can improve next. Instead of only pointing out mistakes, the teacher should guide students on the next steps. For example, the teacher can say what the student did well and then suggest one or two ways to make their work better. This kind of feedback builds confidence and helps students stay motivated to improve. The fifth recommendation is to encourage reflection. Reflection is when students take time to think about what they learned, what strategies they use, and which one worked best for them. By reflecting, students become more aware of strengths and weaknesses. It also helps them develop better learning habits for future. Teachers can ask questions like, what strategy helped you the most? Or what would you do differently next time? When students reflect regularly, they become more independent and responsible learners. Overall, providing constructive feedback and encouraging reflection are important because they help students grow continuously and develop a positive mindset towards learning.
To conclude, I want to highlight the core idea that brings everything in our presentation together. Motivation is not just a psychological concept. It is the heart of self-regulated learning. When students are motivated, whether through autonomy, support, emotional understanding, or meaningful experiences, they are more capable of setting goals, managing their time, monitoring the progress, and reflecting on their learning. Motivation becomes the driving force that helps students stay focused, overcome challenges, and build long-term academic resilience. So, when educators understand how motivation works and intentionally create learning environments that nurture it, they are not just improving academic performance. They are shaping students into independent, confident, and self-regulated learners.